This is the Hanaby video I was working on before my computer broke down. It was 3/4 of the way done anyways, so I figured I'd finish it now. This means it'll also be the last Ameagari no Hanaby video for a long while, because Hanaby the Witch is coming out. This is going to be a short collection of the various bugs and oddities in this game. You'll notice I didn't include glitches in the title, and that's because, unfortunately, Hanaby is a very stable game. There's no fun ways to glitch out of bounds or warp to different areas, at least not that I know of yet. But there are quite a few smaller bugs that I'm gonna go over. Most of these I mentioned at some point in previous videos, but I thought I would collect them all here for easy access. Plus there's always a chance of finding more. And there will be some new stuff here that I've never mentioned previously. Starting right off at number 1 is getting fireworks in and through walls. By pushing up close to solid surfaces and firing skyrockets, cherry blossoms, or the tumbleweed, it's easy enough to get the fireworks stuck inside the wall, or even go through it if the wall is thin enough. This can even be done in areas with an invisible boundary at the screen's edges, and because the camera always follows skyrockets when they're fired, this can be used to let Hanaby almost outrun the camera before it can catch up again. Again, taking advantage of how the camera works. If you fire a skyrocket through the wall in this room in World 2, you can get a glimpse of the next room over that you're not really supposed to be able to see. You can even get handhelds to do some weird behavior by using them point blank against walls, which I demonstrate here while being stuck underwater because apparently squirrels don't need to breathe. Also, fireworks really should not be working underwater, but video game logic, who cares? Although shooting through walls is mostly just a novelty, it's actually really useful in this particular room in World 8. By shooting in just the right spots, it's actually possible to kill these annoying flower enemies through the thin walls, without having to waste time going down any of the side paths. This is really useful here, and I appreciate the bug even if only just for this one room. Next is a similarly related oddity with the spiked balls in World 1. For some reason, despite these damaging objects being solids that Hanaby can stand on and be pushed around by, fireworks will go directly through them. I don't know why they're like this. Any other moving object that can hurt Hanaby, such as the vibrators in World 7, behaves like a normal solid, so why this is a property of the spiked balls only, I have no idea. Next is the bugginess of certain ledges. On these cloud edges in World 5, if you hover toward them and keep holding the directional button in, Hanaby sort of gets stuck there. The game seems confused as to whether I'm on the ground or in the air, judging by the handheld. But if you let go of the direction or move in the opposite way, you'll fall back out again. In World 8, the tiny edges of these buildings can be jumped off of if you're fast enough, and there's a similar ledge to the previous one that you can get stuck on just above. Also, since edges actually have a little bit of a curve to them, it's possible to stand in ways that you really shouldn't be able to. Next is getting over the goal. Despite looking too big to jump over, the end goal's hitbox is actually smaller than it appears. Because of this, you can jump over any of the goals from ground level, and it's actually pretty easy to do consistently once you get the timing down. Next is messing with Hanaby's walk animation. Unfortunately, I don't have any footage for this because my old computer can't handle recording it. It's either so pixelated you can't tell what's going on, or so laggy you can't tell what's going on. Thankfully though, this trick is easy enough to describe. Pausing while walking messes with Hanaby's animation when you unpause, and because the fireworks menu opens and closes so quickly, you can spam that while holding down a movement key to get some strange results, such as stutter stepping or looking like you're walking in slow motion. A warning though, don't do this if you don't like flashing lights. It's pretty painful to look at. Next is the handheld bug. If you charge up a skyrocket and then immediately after letting go of the fire key, switch to a handheld and hold down the fire key again, Hanaby will use that handheld despite it not being in her hand for a few frames. It's just a bug with the animation, but the firework also always seems to aim down at the start, which I guess is the default position for it to go when it's not sure what to do. Another thing I'll mention, even though it's not a bug or an oddity, is the way the ornaments in the World 4 Christmas section are given a random color every time you reload the area. I just really like this little touch, because the Christmas section is my favorite area in the entire game, and the variety of colors brightens up the place in a different way every time you go through it. Next is text skyrockets. In rooms where the game forces a cutscene with text as soon as you enter, there's a small window where you can use a firework before the scene begins. Handhelds don't do anything because they're automatically cancelled, and cherry blossoms and tumbleweed aren't that interesting, but skyrockets are great for this because they mess with the camera in these scenes. This means you can also shoot a rocket at a boss before the fight even starts, although it won't do any damage until all text boxes are closed. It also doesn't work on the jewel-guarding frog bosses in World 8 due to the way their cutscenes work, but you can see here in World 3 where I kill King Mush with 2 chrysanthemum shots before he even gets a chance to move. But I think my very favorite use of this bug is during the end sequence. You can shoot a firework during this end scene. It seems like the timing for it is even tighter than the others, but there's something always magical about Frog CEO bravely ignoring the firework exploding in his face. This one is one of the earliest bugs I discovered, and it's still one of my favorites, the stored text jump. When an NPC has a forced dialogue trigger, such as the tribe leader here, jumping right before the trigger and holding the jump button throughout the text boxes stores the jump until the conversation ends. What's great about it is the fact that it doesn't know what to do with Hanaby's animations, so she kinda just doesn't have one until the game realizes she's in the air and gives her a falling animation. You can also move during the stored jump to have Hanaby walk on thin air. I've known about this bug for a while, but one thing I didn't know until more recently is the fact that you can actually trigger this with normal text too, and this lets you perform a stored jump with any NPC in the game. It requires hitting up and jump at almost the exact same time, although it seems to work better if you delay the jump by a couple frames. This also lets you store your jump until the text boxes end, but it's even better because if you find an NPC that only has one dialogue box, you can actually perform a double jump. By closing the box fast enough, Hanaby will perform another jump off of mid-air. I tested this, and if you can perform it fast enough, you can actually gain more height than you're intended to. It's only a little bit, and unfortunately there's no skips you can do with it, but I still think it's really cool. You can even perform this while entering a door, although you only get a short glimpse of the animation. In World 7, in the indoor bathhouse areas, each surface has been given low friction, causing you to slide around everywhere. But you can bring Hanaby's movement to a halt by opening either the pause menu or the fireworks menu. The fireworks menu is faster, and this can actually save some time if you're trying to turn around quickly. You can also take advantage of the slippery surfaces to exit a room in the most stylish way possible, by sliding backwards and doing a stored jump at the very edge of the door. That'll show 'em. For one last thing in World 7, there's this rabbit NPC named Madoka. She's actually unique in the fact that she moves around, which most other NPCs don't do, and if you slow the video of entering the room down, you can see that she actually spawns above the water in a normal standing position, before falling in and becoming the only swimming NPC in the game. And yes, you can do a stored jump off her in the water, or a stored jump talking to her outside the water. Why not? For the last few things, we move to World 8, and I've saved the best thing, which is a real glitch, for last. First, there's the strange property of these jewels. Although you can't pause the game during text boxes, you can pause it after picking up an item. For some reason when you do this after picking up a jewel, the game seems to ignore the fact that you've paused it and transitions to the next room automatically. This exits the pause menu without you closing it yourself. And if you do this on the fireworks menu, it ignores where your cursor was and keeps whatever firework you had previously. Doing this doesn't really lose you any time, so you can spam it like I do cause it looks cool. Another oddity with pausing is that during the final boss fight against Hudra, the frog bosses that you previously fought also ignore the pause menu and continue to move in the background. I don't know what is up with these guys and their jewels, but they seem to have the power to bend space and time. And finally is the most major glitch of them all, the Frog CEO Softlock. This is pretty hard to pull off, but if you kill Frog CEO and die yourself at the exact same time, the game becomes softlocked. The best way to do this is to have his AI cooperate, and have him shoot his projectiles around the middle of the screen while he's standing on the ground. You can get hit by the ricochet and hit him at the same time if you're lucky, but even in the right situation, the timing for this is pretty tight. The result though is a true softlock. You can't move, you can't shoot fireworks, you can't even open the pause menu to quit. This is by far the most major glitch I've found so far, and the only way to get out of it is to force quit the game. Interestingly, the HUD elements here are gone too, except for my money. This seems to only be possible with a boss that forces a cutscene immediately after their defeat, and it wouldn't work on King Mush or Tomahawk, although I'm not sure about the other frog bosses. Maybe I'll test that another time. For now though, these are the things I've discovered so far. I'm sure there are more bugs, and hopefully some more major glitches in this game, and if I find or learn about more, there's always potential for a follow-up video. Until then, thanks for watching, and here's to more bugginess in the future.